Hey everybody, it's Lyd Shaw from RecordingStudioRockstars.com, TheToyBoxStudio.com, and StereoSessions.com. A few other .coms too, like PodcastProfessors.com, but that's if you're interested in podcasting. In this video, I wanted to give you guys a little quick tour on what drum parallel compression is. So I'm going to go super simple on this, just kind of show you how it's done and give you a few examples of what you could do to use it for yourself, for your own recordings, to make your drums sound totally slamming. So here we go. We'll jump right in. I've got a Pro Tools session open. I've pulled in a few loops here. These are actually from the Drum Broker, which is a great drum loop and drum sample library provider. You can find that over at theproaudiofiles.com. So I'll leave links to that so you can go check it out. This comes from their sound sampler. So this is a sample pack that shows you a bunch of the different libraries they've got. I think it was really inexpensive if it wasn't just free to get this sampler. So definitely go check it out. So here we are. I've just pulled in a few loops straight into Pro Tools. I'm just using built-in output, plug my headphones straight into the computer. Nothing fancy going on here as far as converters or anything like that. And here's the loops that we've got. Okay, so some killer sounding break beats, really simple. They sound awesome already. I'll do another one of these later where I bring in some raw drums that I've recorded that might sound a little bit more like what you would record in your own studio. These have some processing already on them, but we can still take them another step further. So what you do is you take this first track that we've got here and you're going to want to route it. Right now it's going directly to built-in output 1 and 2. We're going to want to bring it down into a couple of AUX tracks down here, and we're going to bring it back. We're going to bus it back so that we can treat those two buses differently. That's where we get the parallel factor. So here we go. First thing we'll do is we'll make a new track. We'll make 2, switch this to stereo, and we'll switch this to AUX inputs. Then do create. Here comes your 2 AUX tracks right here. We'll call this first one drum sub. Whoops, spelled that wrong. Drum sub. We'll call the second one drum slam. That's just my code for squashing the snot out of a drum sound. I like to slam it. So the first one we won't put any treatment on at all. We'll just leave it totally alone, totally normal. The second one, on the other hand, though, we're going to put a couple of things on it. We'll start with a EQ37 band. That's just a stock plugin that comes with Pro Tools. And then we're going to follow that with a compressor. So we've got some options here. Pro Tools has the stock compressor, but it's also got this 1176 knockoff from Bomb Factory. So let's check that out and see what that sounds like. First thing we'll do is let's mute this, and we're going to take this drum loops output, change that to a bus instead of the regular output. This is how we're going to get it over to those auxiliary tracks. Set this to bus 1, 2, select both of these, shift select that, and then shift option select on this guy, and it'll put the same input into both those tracks. See how it did that? Bus 1, 2, bus 1, 2. So that's how you get this same settings on both of these tracks. Shift, option, and then select if both of these are selected. It's a lot of selections all in one there. But all right, so now if I press play, you should hear the same thing we heard before. There you go. Pretty straightforward. If I put this back in built-in output, it's going to sound exactly the same. There you go. So no changes there. As you could tell, I just wanted to show you listening back. Now, if we go to this guy, we'll mute that, we'll unmute this guy, and we'll start playing around with this coming back through the compressor. Now it's going to sound a little different. A little quieter because it's compressing by 3 dB. If I bypass, sounds normal, right? So now let's do some crazy stuff. Let's go into the compressor and really jack it up. So you can see already it's really starting to affect the sound, right? And let's go a little crazy with it too. These are the different ratios. 4 is the most gentle of all the ratios on this 1176. 20 is more extreme. If you didn't already know this, try hitting Shift and this. Any one of these buttons, all the buttons go in. That's called all button mode. It's a secret for 1176s. Now if I hit play, it starts to get a little more extreme. Let's open up the attack here. Sorry, hold on. Let me get this right. Yeah. There you go. When it gets so extreme, sometimes it's hard to remember which way it's open and closed. So let me go here for a sec. All right, so the attack hardly even sounds different whether you go fast or slow. But let's go for an extreme sound, and then I'll show you the magic of parallel compression. Okay, so as you can see, that's squashing it pretty good there. Now what happens when you come in and add, well, let me just go and add these guys together first before we mess with EQ. And I'll show you what we do with EQ. So here's the original again. Now let's bring this guy in slowly and watch the effect. Okay, so now here's the thing. Partly we're going to get, our ear's going to get a little bit fooled because it's just going to simply get louder, and we like things when they're louder. So don't get fooled by that, but it's okay to just get excited. If it sounds exciting, it is exciting. Trust your ear on this one. So now what's cool about this, go short and you start to hear it pumping and breathing. Pretty subtle differences there, right? So one of the things is you notice this needle goes slamming way back. It's just compressing it all the way. That's one of the reasons why when we're moving knobs here, we're not hearing a whole lot of difference in there. But if you take this EQ and you start to cut out some of the low frequencies, watch what happens now. Take this guy. We put this in. This is it's the low, or the high pass, excuse me, the low cut filter on this 7-band EQ. And I do an EQ video where I go deeper into this, and there's also an EQ blog post on recordingstudiorockstars.com. So you can go there if you want to read up a little bit more about this 7-band EQ. But when you move this frequency up here, you see it moves it from the right and left in the graph, and you can take this guy and just slide it around as well. Plus you can make a steeper EQ curve if you want to really cut it off more sharply. But let's start out by just moving it around. I'll show you what it does. And let me take this, I'll mute this again so we're listening to how this affects what's going into the compressor. So here's nothing. And then you add this in. So what's that doing? It's actually, by cutting out some of the lows, it's stopping the 1176 from having to breathe so much and chop down on all the low frequencies, and it's letting some more of the mids and the highs kind of come through and stay a little bit more up in your face the whole time. Let's give it a hard curve too. Now let's add it together and see what kind of sound we get. So you see what it does. If you play around with this, you can hear how it affects the low end. That's the plain, unaffected one, and blend this in. So it's pretty subtle. It's not like a huge difference, but what it does is a cool thing. And now you can start to really play around with it, get to breathe like that. So anyway, that's the point. You can take this idea, you can play around with it more. I'll do another video later on where we dig deeper into doing it with a full drum kit and show you some of the effects that has. But for now, just play around with this. Also, don't be afraid to go in and try playing around with the compressor limiter that's built in and comes directly with Pro Tools. This one does too, but try some of these other compression options. Also, the channel strip compressor is worth looking at, and Maxim is another great one. This is what parallel compression is all about. It's taking this raw drum sound and then taking a very, very compressed drum sound and bringing them back together so you get a little bit more excitement and more of a in-your-face sound. So I'll just close out on a few more loops here and see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys at recordingstudiorockstars.com. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you for joining me here at the website. Cheers.